Trudeau is built, if he's looking for a legacy, clearly he wants to be the prime minister who conquered climate change, or at least as far as Canada's role within it is. And, that was part of, I guess, what anybody would look for. They didn't expect Smith and Trudeau to come out hand in hand and say, wow, we've mended fences and we're going to work together. But if there was a chance you were going to see perhaps a little compromise, a little room, a little ability to say that we can move on some of these targets, that was it. And it's quite clear he's not going to budge an inch, and nor is Premier Smith.
No. And, it's when you read a bit further down in the story, so to speak, and you look at some of the things the Prime Minister says, you realize how contrived this is. I mean, pick this up from, I think, the CBC. They reported Mr. Trudeau as saying, people know, even here in Alberta, as if we're too thick to understand anything really, but even here in Alberta, we understand that the only way to build a strong economy for the future is to protect the environment. That's actually 180 degrees the wrong way around. You want to see a really poor environment, go to a really poor country. If you want to protect the environment, you have to build a strong economy. And this is the kind of tripe that he trots out, but back east they won't, they won't see through that.
Well, and his obsession with the climate and such, we're seeing that with the housing, for example. I mean, I'm just kind of sidetracking a bit, but it still helps, reflect where the Trudeau government's coming from. They acknowledge we have a housing crisis. I mean, rents are flying through the roof, real estate prices. At the same time, they have 500,000 immigrants a year they plan to bring in, though they don't know where they're going to put them. I had Shane Wenzel from Shane Homes on before, and he pointed out, I think, with new builds for houses, if you follow all of the new restrictions and things to be green, I'm paraphrasing, but it was, I believe, $75,000 a house it's going to add to the cost of a dwelling. So their views conflict, and they cause trouble for themselves, but their stubbornness on this climate file will not allow them to move on it.
No, and especially with the interest rate hike today up to 5%, highest in 22 years. Who can afford a house? Who can afford to start a mortgage now?
Obviously, prices of houses will come down because in the end, you do the maths, you sell the house for what you can get for it. And if the mortgage is high, then you won't be able to ask.
Yeah, they're not coming down in Calgary.
Well, we'll see. Give it time. Get Mike Thomas in here.
Yes.
But that is another example of where you find this so frequently with this government that the policies conflict with each other. If it is so important to bring down carbon emissions, why would you increase the number of people coming into this unit of geography that where you want to reduce emissions? Because every individual person generates carbon emissions. They need a place to live. Their house will generate carbon emissions. They need to get around, whether they go by car, by train, whatever, they're going to generate carbon emissions. The mere act of living here generates carbon emissions. So if you increase the population by a significant fraction, you're working against your whole strategy of reducing carbon emissions. What are these people supposed to do?
Exactly.
And as I was saying with the home prices, I mean, those things are luxuries. If you want to have the solar panels and all of these fantastic green notions, you need that money has to come from somewhere. If you have a great deal of royalties coming in or a lot of highly employed people very well paid, they'll take on those luxuries, but they're taking away our means of making the money to do it while making the demands for us to pay for these changes. It has to come to a crash.
Well, I mean, just look at electric vehicles, right? Most of them are priced way out of range of most car buyers, right? And then you get them, and you get the charger you have to buy. You can only do a couple hundred kilometers on it at the best of times. God knows if it'll even start in a minus 40 Calgary night. You can't drive to Vancouver without stopping a couple times and sitting there and getting it all powered up. These are all obstacles that are being placed in front of you, and they still want you to buy the electric vehicle, right? It's the same situation as homes.
The thing that concerns me about the homes is that, speaking specifically of Alberta now, and the demand that they meet zero carbon emissions in the electrical generating industry by 2035. Smith says it's impossible.
It is impossible.
I believe it is impossible. It takes 10 years to get the approvals to build a 2-inch pipeline across a field. So how long is it going to take before they even begin the basic design of the facilities to get the permission, approval, the environmental permissions to build the new sites where we're going to generate electricity from what? Sun, wind, maybe nuclear. Have we got a design for a nuclear reactor yet?
The green crowd's against nuclear. We're not allowed to do that one either.
So, you know, I see, and I have not got this as a direct quote from her, but I believe from what she's saying that Danielle Smith foresees the future. If we just give in to Ottawa, where we'll be facing brownouts and blackouts in 10 years' time if Ottawa insists on zero emissions, because we simply do not have time to build the new structures. Even if we had the money, which I guess we probably could find if we had to, there isn't time, the way we do things in this country, to get all the approvals lined up and the stuff ordered, contracted, constructed, put into service. Can't be done in the 12 years we have.